Hello everyone, Martin Tennant here, back again for another guitar lesson. Today we're going to cover another type of tuning in our series on alternative guitar tunings. Last time I showed you about drop D and gave you an overview of the things you can do with drop D. This time we're going to look at another very common tuning. And this one in question is standard E flat tuning. Basically it's just like regular tuning, i.e. standard E tuning. The same layout, same chords, same scale that can apply to this tuning. However, the main difference is that all the strings are going to be tuned down half a step. So all the notes that you think of when you're thinking of standard E tuning, think of them as being half a step down. If you've got a piano and you'll find all the notes for the guitar, E, A, D, G, B and E. You find them all on the piano and take each one of these 6 notes and then move them down half a step, and you'll find that it will lead to all of the notes becoming flattened notes. In other words, E, A, D, G, B and E are going to become in E flat tuning E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat and E flat. Really as simple as that. So what I'm going to do today, just like we did with drop D, we're going to show you how to get into the tuning first of all, and then we'll move on to showing you a few things in the tuning, although a lot of the things that you do in standard E flat is pretty much the same as standard E. The main difference is that it will sound different because you're technically, although you're playing the same shapes, the same chords, the same scales that you would in standard E, because you're playing everything half a step down, it's all going to sound different. So you'll technically be playing in a different key. I'll explain a bit more about that later on, but for now there's something I just want to quickly show you before we go into the tuning. I'm going to play a chord progression currently in standard E tuning right now. I'm just going to quickly play a chord progression so you can hear how it sounds in this tuning, and then once we've tuned down to E flat, I'll play the same chord progression again. That way you'll be able to hear the distinctive difference between the two tunings. Playing the same chord progression, different tuning, very different sound. So here's the chord progression in standard E tuning. Remember that for later on. Now let's go on to tuning the guitar down to E flat. So all the notes, like I said, it's going to be down half a step. So we're going to start off with E, the low E, and we're going to turn it clockwise to loosen the string. We're going to move it down to E flat. Now we move on to the A string. So I've got the guitar now in standard E flat tuning. This is what it now sounds like. See how different that sounds compared to standard E. If I play an E minor chord shape, see how that sounds. Very different, isn't it? A much deeper, darker tone in my opinion. Now, straight off the bat I'll tell you that because we're in standard E flat tuning, we're playing an E minor chord, well, would be an E minor chord in standard E tuning. This is actually an E flat minor chord, because we're playing the E flat, because we're playing the E minor chord with all the strings tuned down to E flat tuning, and because our bass note is E flat, and the other notes that are in the chord are the notes for E flat, we're technically playing an E flat minor chord. That's just one example of the changes when we go to this tuning. Another example, if you play your standard open position C major chord, you would actually get B major, because B major is half a step down from C major, and when it's E flat, so everything's half a step down. And this is what it sounds like. Really nice chord, but it sounds slightly different to how it sounds in E standard. I'll give you some other quick examples. A minor becomes G flat minor, or A flat minor, whichever you call it. G major becomes G flat major, or F sharp major. D becomes D flat major. And if you play, say if you want to play your B minor shape, that's actually a B flat minor now. And you can basically play any song that you know in E standard tuning, and play it in E flat standard tuning, and it will still work. It'll just sound completely different. So as an example, you could play Californication in this tuning, using the same chords. See how it sounds in this tuning. Sounds different though, even though it's the same song. Let's go back to that chord progression that I showed you at the before we went into tune at the start of the lesson. Just play that for you now. Same chord progression, same chords, but it'll be different. So let's see how it sounds. Another thing to be aware of when you're playing scales in this tuning, all the scales are the same, just like with the chords. Again, just like how your chords have the same shape, but they'll be half a step down from what you normally associate them with. Same applies to the scales. If you play, for instance, your A major scale based off the E string, in this particular tune it's actually going to be A flat major, because it's half a step down. Equally, if you want to play an arpeggio and you play it, for example, based on the D string, then you won't be playing it in D. You'd actually be playing it in the C sharp, which would be a C sharp arpeggio, or C sharp minor, or C sharp minor 7, I should say. In addition to that, you can play any scale that you want to in this tune. You could play a pentatonic, or your blues scale. Or you can do a harmonic minor. The point is that regardless of what you play in this tuning, you can play it the exact same way that you would play it in regular tuning. It's just the only difference being that the scales and chords are going to sound totally different, and whatever songs you play in this tune are going to sound very different, purely because all the notes are going to be different. The shapes and how you the shapes are going to be spaced out and phrased and all that is going to be the same and identical to the regular tuning. It's just going to have, because it's different notes, they're going to sound different. So a couple of examples of famous songs that use this tuning, right off the top of my head. One that comes straight to me is Weezer's Say It Ain't So. Somebody's hiding, drowning my eyes spots. Somebody's cold one is giving me chills. Saying it's so, your drug is a hundred good. Another one would be Nickelback's Photograph. And another one, although it was technically written originally in E standard, Metallica often played this one in E flat when they were playing live. Nothing Else Matters. So you get the idea. That's just an overview of the tuning, but so long as you know, but basically the bottom line is anything that you know in your regular standard guitar tuning, you can play it in this tuning. And some other advantages of this tuning, a lot of guitarists tend to find it easier to do bends in this tuning, mostly because the strings tend to be slacker because of the less tension that it has, because it's tuned half a step down. So slightly easier on the fingers if you like doing a lot of bendy stuff and like blues music. Another common reason why guitarists would use this tuning is it's quite a good tuning for many vocalists, particularly male vocalists. There's a lot of male singers that find that this is a really easier tuning to sing in, at least, than songs would be if they were in standard tuning. Not all the case, but considering every vocalist has a slightly different range, a slightly different voice, and some musical situations are going to be more suitable than others, it only makes sense that this tuning is going to be more suitable for someone's vocal range than others. And many vocalists find that this E flat tuning is more suitable for them than standard tuners, so guitarists would often help them out there, accommodate them by tuning down to E flat. There are plenty of bands that use this tuning, not just for like the odd song, but regularly use it for pretty much all their set. One of the most famous examples of a band that does this would probably be Guns N' Roses. Pretty much almost all their songs that they wrote on their debut album was written using E flat standard, which I believe they originally wrote in E standard, but because E flat was more suitable to Axl Rose's voice, they decided to stick with playing all their songs in E flat to accommodate that. Metallica did it quite a lot, like I mentioned before in their live shows. Rise Against, the famous metal alternative punk rock band, uses that tuning quite a lot. Weezer as well uses it quite a lot. And go back to the 80s, bands like Rat and even Bon Jovi used E flat as well. So there's plenty of bands that use it, and it's a pretty cool, has a pretty cool sound overall. So there are plenty of reasons to use this tuning, and I highly recommend that if you haven't checked this tuning out already, then to do so, because you can get a lot of fun out of it, and it can open up a whole new way of sounds that you don't get in standard E. So I really hope you enjoyed that lesson. Thank you for tuning in to the lesson and to taking on new information, giving this video the time. And check out my other lessons for new content, for new things to explore and to learn for the guitar. And stay tuned for my other upcoming lessons that I'll be uploading in the near future. Thanks again for tuning in. Keep on practicing all this stuff. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.